Analytical interview questions can be about your specific analytical skills, or they can be about how you'd solve a problem or an analytical puzzle. Learn how to answer both types of analytical questions in this video. I'm Jen with the Career Force. We help smart, career-minded professionals stand out in today's job market. We post new career-related videos every week, so be sure to subscribe and check back weekly to get the latest career advice. There are two major types of analytical questions that you'll experience in interviews. The first is how you use your analytical skills, and the second is normally solving a problem or some sort of puzzle. Let's look at how to answer both types of questions. First, we're going to look at how to talk about your past analytical skills. Here's two common questions you might encounter in this type of topic. First is, tell me about a problem that you experienced in the past where you had to use some sort of logic to solve it. The second question you might encounter is, your resume mentioned you have experience in blank area. Can you tell me more about that? And in this case, that blank is going to be something analytical. It might be a software, it might be solving some sort of process problem. You'll know what to expect based on what you actually put on your resume. So how do you answer these types of questions? These are perfect questions to use the STAR model for. The STAR model walks through the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So it takes someone through all the steps of explaining a past situation so that they're able to fully understand it. So when you talk about your analytical skills, you talk about what was the situation where you needed to use them, what were you trying to accomplish, the task that you had, so something you're trying to accomplish, solve, figure out, whatever word you want to use there. Talk about the steps that you took to solve it. So that's where your action is, and that's where most of the time in your STAR responses should be spent, because regardless of what the background was of what happened and what you were trying to accomplish, what really conveys expertise is what you did. How did you approach solving a problem? And whether or not the result was successful, your problem-solving approach is such a crucial aspect of being a good analyst. So explaining that to the interviewer is going to help them understand how you'll be able to solve problems for them in the future or use your analytical skills in the future. So if you want to learn more about how to use the STAR model, I've put a link below so that you can go check out more details about it. The second type of analytical interview question is the analytical problem or analytical puzzle situation. So in this circumstance, you're given a particular problem or a puzzle and asked how you would solve it. These are notorious at companies like Google, where it might be, how do you fit what's the best design of a manhole cover, round or square or some other shape, and why would we make them round? It could be, how many ping pong balls fit on a school bus or something else. So let's look at a specific problem and how I would go about answering it and what I would look for if I was interviewing someone to look for a good answer and really be impressed with what they have to say. In this case, we're going to use this example. There are 25 mechanical horses and a single racetrack. Each horse completes the track in a pre-programmed time, and the horses all have different finishing times, none of which you know. You can race 5 horses at a time. After a race is over, you get a printout with the order the horses finished, but not the finishing times of the horses. What is the minimum number of races you need to identify the fastest 3 horses? If I were answering this question in an interview, here's how I'd go about answering it. I don't immediately know the answer to it, so I would start talking through the logic that I'm using to figure it out. So I would start out by saying, I'm not quite sure how to solve this, but let me walk you through my logic. I know there's 25 horses and I can race 5 at the most per race. So I would say at the minimum, I know I need 5 races to start out so I can find the 5 fastest horses. I would race each group and say I would take the winner from each of those. But I would also need a 6th race because I only need to know the top 3, and the top 1 from each doesn't tell me because I don't know the times. I just know which one won, what order they finished in. So I would do a 6th race, and that 6th race I would run the 5 fastest horses. That would tell me what the top 3 out of the top 5 were. But I would probably then run another race because I couldn't be sure that the fastest group that had the fastest horse didn't have a second place horse that was faster than the first place horse in the second fastest group. So in that 7th race, I would run the fastest horse, the second fastest horse from the same group as the first fastest horse. I would take the second place finisher from the 6th race, so the second fastest group. I would run that one and the second place finisher from that group, and I would take the 3rd place finisher from race 6, and I would put that horse in the race. So that gives me 5 horses. That gives me the top 2 from the fastest group, the top 2 from the second fastest group, and the fastest horse from the 3rd group. So when I run those, I would know whatever the 3 horses that finished first would be the top fastest horses out of the 25. So I would say the minimum number that I need to run would be 7 races to find the 7 fastest horses, not knowing anything about their finishing time, only knowing about their finishing place. I'm curious how well you followed along with that. Some of you probably thought, oh, duh, this is obvious. And other ones of you probably thought, I have no idea how I would have solved that problem. You know what? There are plenty of different problems just like this. So if you want to practice, just Google logical problems or analytical problems or puzzles. You'll find plenty of different ones out there that you can practice with. Whether it's other videos or just Googling it, you'll be able to find some things to practice with. And the really important thing here wasn't even necessarily that I came to the conclusion that I needed 7 races to solve this problem. It was that I was able to explain my logic of how I got there. If I would have just responded to the question about how many races were needed and said, oh, 7, and then just shut my mouth, then I haven't told the interviewer that much. They might be impressed that I knew it off the top of my head, or they might just think, oh, well, she's heard this problem before, so she knows the answer. The interviewer really wants to understand what's the process that you go through to solve a problem, because as an analyst, that's so much of your job. That's really the value you're bringing, is being able to solve these complex problems. The data and the math part of it are actually the smaller part of the job that you're going to be doing versus knowing how to actually solve a problem. There is one other place where you might encounter these problems where you don't have a chance to really show your work, even if it's verbally. Some employers now use logical screening problems to pre-screen candidates before they have interviews. So typically how this works is you'll get a link to a website, you'll have a certain amount of time to go in and take a test. Let's say typically 20 minutes to answer maybe 20 questions. And in those cases, you'll be given a series of things and asked to predict what comes next. So you might be given a series of squares that have different shading, and you might be given 4 of them and asked, okay, now that you know these 4, what would the 5th one look like? These are normally multiple choice answers. So in those cases, take your time, think through it, and if you're pretty limited on time, make your best guess. A lot of times you're probably going to be right. I would recommend, if you know that you're going to have a screening like this, take some time to search for these types of tests and practice them ahead of time. This isn't the type of work that most of us do every day, so having a little bit of momentum going into it can really help make sure that you do well when you're taking that test. I hope that you found these tips helpful for knowing how to answer analytical interview questions or how to solve analytical puzzles and problems. If you want more career advice, check back next week when I post new videos, or check out the linked videos below that go into more detail on some of the topics I talked about today. Thanks so much for watching.